You have said during your Zoom sessions that you should not exercise after the right balance express before practice or play. Can you give an example? Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I want to go to the next question. I'll come back to that just to make sure my core doesn't get too disrupted here. Should my students flare their feet? Yeah. Let them flare all they want. After the right balance express, if I'm here and I flare my foot, you can see my hips just go right to square. I can flare both feet on both sides and I'll stay square. That's because I've done the right balance express. And the other thing you'll see that is so very important and huge, it is absolutely huge. My carrying angle is the same on both sides. So when I flare here and here, my hips stay absolutely square. I'll show you a flare in a bit. I'll disrupt my core and show you what happens with a flare with a disrupted core, because it's interesting. Okay, you said, once again, back to the previous question, you have said during your Zoom sessions that you should not exercise after the right balance express before practice or play. Can you give an example? The same person wanted to know why I keep talking about fitness but not showing any examples. So I'm going to show you an example now of an oblique exercise. And you can get this leaning on a light pole, by the way, but the oblique exercise, when you do what I'm about to do, you want to make sure that you have a timer or count. If you're with the oblique, I'm going to show you standing obliques, because I believe that's the only thing that you're going to be able to get both internal and external obliques. The internal oblique is also referred to as your posterior oblique. So before I do, let me show you what my body looks like. Yeah, I'm still in low core here. And it doesn't matter what core zone you're in. So we always evaluate planes of motion. So if I stand tall here, you'll see that is actually, that's the back of my core on the what's called the rotational plane. So if I'm square here, when I add knee flex, that's the front of the core on the rotational plane. This is rotation. And if I take a step forward, that is the sagittal plane posterior. Sagittal plane posterior. So I take a step with the right, take a step with the left. You'll notice how square my hips are. So if I simply take a step back on both sides, still very square. So what this tells me is, in my kinetic chain, I have aligned my joints and I have the ability now to recruit power. It doesn't give me power, but it gives me maximum power when I recruit from whatever zone I'm playing. Okay, so let's go back. The oblique exercises. So the first oblique I'm going to show you. One of the reasons I wore this striped shirt today, I want you to notice how square these lines should look pretty good if you're able to see them. Sometimes the camera will blur them. So let me move in a little closer here. And you should see the stripes. Notice the height of my shoulders. And these are my anterior crest hip bone right here. Okay. So you should be able to see that my thumbs are the same height. My shoulders are the same height. So external, we're going to do external oblique first. So what that is I'm going to raise my right leg here. I'm going to lean into the wall. And as I said, you always want to time. So I have 30 seconds here. When you do this, 30 seconds is just a quick way to be able to show you what this does. So, and I just hold it. I want to make sure my hips remain square, facing forward. And you should be timing. Notice my outside leg, my external oblique. also known as the anterior oblique, by the way. External oblique is also known as the anterior oblique. Okay. I want you to notice, I can feel it. Notice my left shoulder here. But you'll also notice, and my left hand, when I put my hands down my side of my leg, my left hand feels longer. So I have changed the height of my shoulders simply by that 30-second exercise. I'll show you how to correct it in a moment. My hips have not moved. So to correct this, I need to be the same distance from the walls. Here's this view for 30 seconds. Same distance off the wall. And I have a yardstick here I'm using for measurement. And I'm simply going to hold it for 30 seconds. Again, this is external oblique, also known as anterior oblique. So I firmly believe whether you're on the golf course, running, playing any sport, it's the imbalance, it's the muscular imbalance, core zone imbalance. What I didn't show you is how to check that, but notice my shoulders and notice how I just corrected. Now, when I started these exercises, one side was stronger than the other. And I'm going to do this again because I want to show you, I'll show you this time, I'm going to disrupt the other side. Same thing, we're doing external obliques. Now we have Right Balance 360 exercise. We've had this for years. You go back 10 years and see a video of this being demonstrated. Since that time, there's a much better understanding of the impact this has on the core. And if you're exercising, you don't want to be talking, you want to be breathing. Okay, so now I've done, first time I did the left side, this time I've done the right side. And again, I can feel that shoulder is lower. Hopefully you're able to see that online here, but my hips have not moved. So how do I test this? How do I look at it? Well, I'll tell you what, in external oblique, I take a step forward, my hip stays square. I take a step forward, my hip stays square. Now remember, I did that on the right side, okay? So if I take a step back with my left foot, I'm square. But if I take a step back with my right foot, look what I have. I have an open, you can look at it like this. You're going to find when you raise your fist in this position, the side that has been stressed or trained is going to be that hand is going to be lower, okay? Or I can stand here and you'll see. So let's correct it. So again, this is external oblique, anterior oblique, one and the same, and it's going to impact shoulder height. Side planks on the floor will not give you what you're going to see here with the internal and external oblique. It only is going to impact one or the other, and that depends on how you're doing the plank. And I would also, when you first start, put a bar on because you'll find yourself letting the hips rotate. The timer, if you're doing wall push-ups, obliques, just count, okay? So now you can see I pretty much balanced it out. Take that step forward, take that step back, step forward, step back. I'm good everywhere. So I have balanced. Now let's look at internal obliques. The internal oblique is just the opposite. With the external, I raise the outside foot. With the internal oblique, I raise the inside foot. Let's see what this does. So the external oblique comes off the front side, anterior. When I take a step back, my hips rotate on the side where I've done the exercise. So when you're going out to play, if you've exercised and done anything, it'll disrupt your core. As we do more and more of these, this is just one of many, many exercises. We can walk, run, planks, push-ups, curls, any number of exercises. They are going to disrupt some part of your core. Now, with the left side that time, I did the internal obliques. My shoulders should appear the same height. However, my left hip is higher. I don't know if you can tell that. My left hip has come up, and I'm going to find that. If I take that step forward on the right, I'm good. If I take that step forward, let me make it from over here. I'm going to take that step forward on the left, and you can see the rotation, because that is the side I have stressed. I raise my hands in this position. You can see that the left side has been compromised. So let me just correct it, and then we'll move on. Again, you want to be, I can do push-ups here on one arm push-ups, or I'm going to hold a static position. When we first started doing this, we are going to go into quite a comprehensive fitness program in the months ahead. I want to get you through the basics. But when we first started doing this, we had students who could not support themselves. So we actually had a pillow on the wall and using the forearm until they're able to move out and do more. Then to go to push-ups or that arm extended.